Okay, spring is hella hype, dude. Look at all these new shows that came out. If winter was the season of sequels, then spring is the season of first season shows. Seriously, besides My Hero Academia, I don't care about any of the second seasons that came out this season. And if I'm being honest, My Hero Academia isn't even what I'm most hyped for. Partially because I already got caught up on the manga, but also because 86 is a thing. From the moment I laid eyes on this show and that poster art, I knew that I was gonna love this shit. The synopsis gave me some real Attack on Titan vibes, which should be exciting for any anime fan. For those of you who don't know about 86, 86 is a show that's about war, mechs, racism. So basically the perfect elements to make a thought-provoking, badass, and fun show for people to watch. I mean, the only thing that could possibly hold it back from being an incredible anime is bad animation, which hopefully... I think I'm in love. By the way, if you think that the OST sounds familiar, that's because of this obligatory Someone No name drop. I mean seriously, with all of these lovable qualities about the show, I can see this becoming the next Code Geass, but just without the terrible Yuffie scene that ruined the whole show for me. Now, to give a more detailed summary of the plot, these two countries are at war, the enemy country and the country that we follow, the San Magnolia Republic, which uses a drone to fight their battles for them, so that no blood is spilled. However, it turns out that blood is actually spilled, because people called the 86 are piloting these things, and some of them die. These 86 are looked down upon by the citizens of San Magnolia since they don't qualify as human. Also, when in battle, the 86 are connected to a handler who's usually a racist military dude who's supposed to give them orders, but they tend to just call them horrendous things and it's terrible. I've never heard of 86 before it got its anime adaptation announced, but from what I've recently gathered, we can expect a lot of great things from the story. It's a light novel that was pretty beloved and highly regarded, which doesn't really mean much to me, but it's something that gives me hope. Now, as I said, there are themes of racism in 86, and it's evident from the first episode. Now, racism, while it is a heavy theme, there are a lot of ways of portraying that in an overbearing and pretentious way. And what I mean by that is, a lot of anime, when tackling this topic, tend to, constantly remind the audience that racism is a bad thing. Not every show does that, but they tend to give off that kind of message by either showing the terrible things that one race experiences at the hand of another. And yeah, racism is terrible, but I already know that. A good example of this could be found in Attack on Titan's final season. Most of the season is great, but I found the first few episodes to be really boring because it seemed like all I could take away from those episodes was that racism is bad. And again, AOT isn't necessarily saying that, but when it shows me a bunch of Eldians getting treated like shit by Marleyans and it tries to make me feel sorry for these characters that I don't really know or care about in the case of Gabby, it's kind of implying it. It's not even so much the message itself that's eye-rolling, it's how much a show feels the need to reinforce it. I mean, like, especially for Attack on Titan's case, you don't need to establish the fact that Eldians are hated by Marleyans all over again in the final season, especially when you have a scene near the end of the third season that did the same thing, but just a lot more effective, and not as pain-inducing as these first few episodes of your final season. What I'm trying to say is that you don't have to tell me the same thing twice, but in the case of 86, this doesn't seem to be an issue. Well, so far. Geez, what is with me in these extravagant claims lately? From the first episode of 86, we get the idea that the 86 are seen as lesser than the citizens of the San Magnolia Republic, and we also get a clear picture of why things are the way they are. But the anime so far has never tried to bash that into my head. It's never too overzealous in selling this aspect of the world of 86. I feel like a lot of the reasons why it's so much more bearable here than in any other show that tries to do the same thing is because of the nature of the 86 in general. From what I've seen of these guys so far, they're already used to the whole prejudice thing, so they don't tend to react that much whenever someone is showing examples of bigotry or when their handler calls them some awful shit. In fact, the group of 86 seem to like it when that happens because they're connected to their handler's brain and they can drive them insane, which is funny to them because, I mean, come on. Aside from that, I'm impressed with the strong characterization of the cast in just 2 episodes. From the first episode, we can see that these 86 are just a bunch of unruly kids who do normal kid stuff. but they just pilot war machines of death on the side. We get to see how they view their handlers too, with nice little caricatures of them pinned up on the wall and scribbled on. Notice how the second they found out about Lena becoming their handler, they immediately drew one up for her. Aw, that's so nice. Speaking of Lena, she's another reason why the whole racism thing isn't so pretentious to me, because she's one of the few people who actually show sympathy for the 86, and we follow her story most of the time. But not everything about this show is perfect. The direction, while fine and pretty standard for the most part, can get weird at times. Not necessarily bad, just really over the top. For example, there's a shot where there's a muffin falling on the floor in slow-mo, and when it hits the floor, it cuts to a battlefield where guts are flying and people are dying. But I mean, that was only one time, so hopefully they don't do that too much. It's not really a bad thing if they do, but I just don't like it. But yeah, 86 has a lot of potential, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Hopefully it's somewhere good, like better than Code Geass, because Code Geass was actually really good until the Yuffie moment, so yeah. I recommend 86. It's a good show with a lot of potential and talent put behind it. Okay, I'll be going now.